Hi, this is Piero Giorgio. We're here, as you can tell, on the deck of the Empire State Building in Manhattan, New York. Always a great place. Let's move so that we don't bother too many people. Let's move here. So anyway, New York. First time I was here, I was 6. And actually I remember being on this platform. It was something impressive, as it's always impressive. And it's always interesting to see how many people from all over the world come to this city and they come here. It is one of the most international cities that you can imagine. In fact, what's interesting about Manhattan, what's interesting about New York is that it's just a fascinating city, and at the same time it epitomizes perfectly everything of what our world is about. It's a lot of people living together in a big city with absolutely no self-sufficiency whatsoever. Everything has to be brought to the city. It's millions of people who rely on water, rely on food, to be brought here every day by trucks. No inventory, no stock, no reserves. Everything has to come from outside. A huge quantity of supplies, food, and if you add to that the utilities that are needed to make the city work, water, of course, electricity, and of course then the systems to get all the garbage and of course the waste, especially body and fluid waste from toilets and bad water to get out. It's just a colossal, first of all, it's a colossal achievement, and it's in many ways it's a fascinating tribute to the inventiveness and the imagination of humans to be able to build such cities. But it's also an incredible fragile system. If, as I predict, economic collapses are going to happen and they're going to increase in severity, the real question is how are millions of people living in cities like New York, but not just New York, Los Angeles, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Cairo in many ways, and cities around the world, London, Düsseldorf, Frankfurt, Berlin, etc. How are all these people living in these cities going to make it? And here it's the utmost example of non-sustainability. And while of course there are efforts that are being made in this particular building, in the Empire State Building, while we were waiting to go up the stairs, you could see that they were showing all the improvements that they have made to the building to save electricity, to save on water, to save on heating and cooling. All this is great and it's really welcome, and we have to continue these efforts. But it's probably not enough. It's probably not enough because as we're going into depletion of natural resources, especially oil, and therefore an ability to keep a just-in-time supply system for cities, and to add to that the more and more difficulty to provide electricity and efficient utilities to provide water, clean water into the big cities, one has to ask the question, how are those cities going to continue? A lot of authors, such as James Howard Kunstler and others, have discussed and written about the unsustainability of suburbia, but also of central towns. The interesting element is if a collapse happens very suddenly, and it's very possible and it's very probable, suddenly you have millions of people stuck in a city with no water, no electricity, no food. And what are they going to do? Get away? Go across the rivers, on a few bridges, on a few motorways, with what? On foot? On cars that will have no fuel? This is potentially a very tragic end for all of the New Yorkers. And by the way, I love this city and I love the people here. First of all, they come from all over the world. It's one of those cities where you have people from, it goes from Argentina to Zimbabwe, from Norway to Bangladesh, from South Africa to Canada, to Japan, to China, everywhere in the world, people come here and they want to work hard and they want to succeed. And actually, you probably have some of the smartest, some of the best, some of the most beautiful people in the world here. You also have some of the most sociopathic, for sure. Although this morning we had a great example of having a black garbage disposal man who was super kind to a very old white lady on Fifth Avenue and actually gave her $1 from his wallet. And I found that also part of the, we always talk about the sociopathic Wall Street and lawyers of Manhattan, but sometimes you also have these great kind people. And this is also part of what America is about. You have incredible, ruthless, sociopathic people, and at the same time you have incredible, kind-hearted, open-minded people in the same country. And this is what is fantastic. This is what I always admired and liked about this place. But anyway, problem is, it's going to be super tough to have someone who just rang the alarm. It's high security place in New York these days. Anyways, to conclude this little video from the Empire State Building, I just want to say that if you are living in a big city, if you are living in Manhattan, in New York, or other cities around the world, Hong Kong and so on, so many, just be super aware of what it takes to make you able to live in those cities. Are you able to withstand severe economic downturn? And we're not talking hurricanes like Sandy last year, and it was a problem here because there were no reserves. But can you withstand a long economic down circle? Can you withstand disruption of supplies for a long time? And probably you don't. And if you don't, I really encourage you to read, to inform yourself, and start by reading my book, Survive the Economic Collapse. Of course, I advertise my own book; it's normal. But get to learn about that, and you will see there are ways to do something about it. But also, of course, you may want to plan to actually leave the cities and live in places which are more self-sustainable and better to life. Anyways, I'm Piero Giorgio from New York, and I'll see you soon.